hate that.
Yeah, we're ready to do a search warrant. Where's Bill?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Missing. Okay. Right now. What's up, everybody? This is Bill Force, Real Talk Chronicles. How's everybody doing today? This is it. My lovely wife, Malika Vaughn Forster, she's not going to hang with us today, but that's okay. We're going to hold it down. I have some beautiful people like my partner in crime, Kevin Branzetti, on this thing, and I got my good friend Sammy Ravello. These are Real Talk Chronicles. Hold on, if you have not mute your mics until you have spoken. New to the theme, I have Mashira Rodriguez, hanging in, the former NYPD officer. She's going to share some insight from her perspective and stuff like that. This is Real Talk Chronicles. You like it, share it, love it. This is what we do. This today's episode, of course, is the segment is law enforcement. We're going to be conversing about politics and law enforcement. How do they go hand in hand? If they do, they don't. We're going to get our esteemed panel's expert opinion on this and what they feel about this. We're also going to talk about politics from a enforcement aspect, from a very political aspect in regards to this. Also, too, I'd like to tell everybody right now, we have Real Talk Chronicles masks. Holler at us if you want one. This is what we're doing right now. They come packed up and everything is beautiful. So I hope everybody gets one, and this is what we are doing. So right now, I just want to shout out to all the people that are watching in. Sue Haas, love you, Sue. Darren Gall, Sterling, TJ, Valencia, Donald, Donna, Maureen, Andre, what's going on? I will be looking down at my phone, so please don't think I'm being rude. Kevin and Sammy already know that. Mashira, I just wanted you to know that. I just want everybody eventually to introduce themselves. Again, like always, I have to start with my main Gazane, my partner in crime on this. Kevin, introduce yourself, and then I'll go to Sammy, and I'll go to Mashira. Go ahead, Kev.
Hey, hello, everyone. Hi, Kevin. Retired NYPD, did 22 years. Worked in various places from the squad to narcotics, the 2A precinct, Intel. I've now retired 5 years ago, worked for another police department, another law enforcement agency. And I, in my spare time, work with a friend. We run a nonprofit called the National Child Protection Task Force, where we assist law enforcement on crimes against children, abductions, and things along those lines.
Awesome. Sammy?
Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Sammy Ravello. I'm a Navy veteran of the Gulf War. I did 26 years in the NYPD, where I worked in, obviously, patrol. I was undercover in narcotics and vice. I worked in internal affairs, fugitive enforcement division, counterterrorism, and I retired as a special ops lieutenant in the 46th precinct. Formerly congressional candidate for District 16. This election that just passed. So I'm here, share my thoughts with my brother Bill.
That's it. What's up? Last but not least, lady of the evening, Mashira Rodriguez. Mashira, please introduce yourself and tell everybody about you.
Hi, everybody. My given name is Virginia Rodriguez, but everybody knows me as Mashira. I am also a veteran. I was in the Army National Guard for 12 years. I was a transportation specialist. I drove tractor trailers. And I was in the NYPD for 10 years. I retired early, moved to Philadelphia in 2005, where I've resided ever since. While I was in NYPD, I was on patrol, but the majority of my time there was in narcotics division.
Awesome. Thank you all for coming. Shout out to our law enforcement families. My old partner, John Cross, Tony Castillo is in the building. Hey, Sharon. Shout out to the martial arts legend, Richard Pollan. There's so many people in here giving love and respect, and appreciate you all. Wayne, what's going on, brother? Darren, what's up? Darren said hello. Listen, I want to get right into it. Recently, First, this is Real Talk Chronicles. Please share it. YouTube, we're on YouTube, Real Talk Chronicles. So this is what we do. Let me tell you something. Shout out to all our first responders and shout out to people that are essential employees. We respect you and we love you. I am, of course, a former detective with NYPD. Worked in the 28, 26, Intel, dignitary protection, finished my career in Bronx Narcotics, done undercover with Sammy, worked with Kevin and Snoo in Bronx Narcotics in Manhattan, the 28, Mighty 28, and then, I performed the duties of a ghost in Bronx Narcotics. So with that being said, everybody here has tenure. Everybody knows NYPD in and out well enough. I want to get into it. Pat Lynch recently just endorsed the President of the United States for re-election. I don't remember recently if that's been done in a while. I know we do mayoral and we do governors. I don't remember too much us doing presidents. He's talking about how the cities have been just under siege, under Democratic watch. Whether that's true or not, we can talk about that too, because this is a show tonight where we'll be talking about politics. Go into it as much as you want to go into it. With that being said, what do you think? Would you think that was a good move from a union standpoint? I personally, I'll let you go first. I'll start with you, Kevin, and then I'll go to Mashira, and then I'll go to Sammy. Go ahead, Kevin.
Put me right into the fire.
I gotta go to you first. You're the co-host. I gotta go to you first.
I see the first question out there, like, who's Pat Lynch? He's the president of NYPD's PBA.
Exactly.
So I can answer that one easily. Look, I don't like union heads in general endorsing anybody.
Right.
Does Pat Lynch? He speaks for himself and his inner circle, just like the head of the teachers union, the sanitation union, and everybody else. Do they really speak for the rank and file? No. To decide at this presidency that it's the first time Pat's gonna pick somebody. All right, you couldn't have picked a more controversial time and figure to come out. So, do I think it was a smart move? No. Do I understand, who Pat Lynch will most likely pick in most elections? Yeah, that I can get. But again, for me, heads of any union, I'm not a fan of them using union money, union time to help anybody get elected.
Karen, what's your thoughts?
Kind of echoing what Kevin said. I felt that way when I was on the job, and they would do that because I feel like you can't represent the whole rank and file when we're so diverse. People of different cultures, people of different ethnicities and religions. And it always bothered me, because for me personally, of course, as an adult, you have to take care of yourself and your family first, usually meaning your immediate family, your spouse, kids, if you have them. But when I was on the job, I had parents, I had other family members who were not law enforcement. So to encourage a large body of people, and we know that the NYPD is one of the largest police departments in the world, that means that's a lot of votes that could potentially go to that candidate. That's a huge sway of power. And I felt like where I was torn, because maybe personally, I knew certain things from a particular candidate might benefit me in my career and in my pay bracket, my taxes and my personal things. I also had to feel for my family and my community as well. You always say it, Bill, that you're a person first, you're black first, and you're blue after that. I'm the same way. My family is black and Hispanic. I have to think, if I choose a candidate that benefits me solely, my taxes, my pay, but it hurts my community, I'm torn. So yeah, I feel like we should just stay out of it. You know, when you work in government, POTUS in particular, there's certain ethics. When you're in certain positions, you cannot promote certain things. You can't promote, depending on your position, your what you do for a living in government. Sometimes you can't, you know, us as cops, we couldn't say individually when we're talking to civilians, we're not supposed to talk about politics and religion. We're supposed to try to stay away from that because it's controversial. But yet our union can do that for us when it does not speak for the whole. So yeah, I don't like it either. I think it's does more harm than good.
I can't hear you. Phil, I can't hear you. Can you hear him? Oh, he's muted.
Sorry about that. I muted. Yeah, I wasn't talking. Sammy. I'm going to come back to you and Mashira because you are two prior military individuals, and I'll get into that later on. But right now, I just want to stay on the topic of how you personally feel as Sammy Ravello in regards to former law enforcement, because we got a lot to talk about with that.
Okay, so here comes the fireworks. I disagree with Kevin and Mashira, obviously. You know, I believe he has a right to endorse. You know, do I like his endorsement? You know, I'm a Democrat, you know, but he has a right. The job of a union is to get the best, is to serve the best interest of his members. And right now, what's happening in New York City with Mayor de Blasio and the city council is a travesty. Pat, not on a personal level, you know, he still has to try to sit with the city government, city council, before they sat down and, you know, drafted that terrible diaphragm bill, and they wouldn't sit with them, you know. And let me tell you, when the New York State government went and they created the chokehold bill, this is a state, all right. The city council came and they were tripping on top of each other to try to come up with a bill without any hearings, without hearing from the police department members, without hearing from the unions. So if you're not going to sit at the table, I know what happened. You know, they did it to give a big FU to the city council and to Bill de Blasio. And Mashira, you know, where I disagree with you is this. The teachers have a union and they are entitled. They have a lot more members than we do, and they get involved politically. The electricians, you name it, DC 37, 1199, they have a political arm. And the reason why I'm a Democrat is because I believe in the union. And those are the people that are going to speak politically for you. You know, if we take that away, then what's going to happen is this is going to become a right to work state, which I don't want. And then, you know, your power gets thrown away. Unfortunately, whether we like it or not, the union, which is 24,000 members, is the biggest union in police union, but it's one of the smallest unions numbers-wise. There are unions that are way bigger than the PBA. No, you know, it is within their right. You know, whether we like it or not, it's like, you know, and I'm going to finish with this. Sometimes this is America. Me and you fought for the freedom of speech, and you know, sometimes people say things that we don't like, but that's their right. You know, and I believe that was the right with Patty Lynch. You know, he wasn't getting a partner with the city council and the mayor. So what are you expecting to do? You know, like I said, personally, Sammy Ravello, does he agree? No, because I'm a Democrat. You know, but is it his right? And should he have done it? If I was in his shoes, I probably would have done the same thing, because the city council and Mayor de Blasio was not listening. They were not listening, and they put a lot of people in danger. Not only the cops, but a lot of civilians also.
So, you know what's so funny? I respect your opinion. Hold on, Mashira, I'm going to give you a chance to reply to that. And then, Kev, if you want to reply to that, we'll do that. And that's a beautiful thing. And then I want to read some comments. So go ahead, Mashira.
So I get what you're saying. And like I said, in some ways I was torn. So, but when you say compared to certain other unions, we're small. But when you say 24,000, that's a lot of votes, not compared to other unions in general. It's not an individual. It's not 100. It's not 5,000. That's a lot of votes. And if half of those votes go with, you know, that vote, it can make a big impact. So that's the first thing. The other thing is, when you say they have the right to do it, I get it. I get the reasoning behind it. I get that they have a job to make the best connections on every level politically that's going to benefit officers and the teachers union, all of them who risk their lives and give service in whatever way. I get it. But like I said, for me, I'm personally torn. That's what he asked about. He asked about our personal feelings. Right. I get the politics of it, but there's good and bad. And the last thing I'm going to say in response to what you said is the problem I have with when a union speaks for its members is it basically falls into majority or minority. They represent the benefits of how the majority feel. Right. The majority of cops who the union PBA represents could be, again, let's say 18,000 of them are the majority of what the PBA is trying to represent, because the other, and again, these are just random numbers. The other, when I say 18,000, 6,000 or whatever, 7,000 might not agree with the PBA's decision. So now, in essence, they're not represented. Their desires, what they feel. And with that, I always hated the word minority, whether you're referring to people of color, right, or in these type of situations where, I mean, it's basically a lose-lose situation. You know, you will help some people, but you're going to lose others. And like I said, personally, I just wish there was a way to balance it better. But I understand your points, though.
Thank you.
So,
Kev, go ahead, please.
Quickly, the truth of this is, it doesn't matter. Not a single member of 24,000 is going to change their vote because Pat Lynch said vote for Trump. There's not a single person, not one cop who he convinced to change their vote one way or the other. You know, like I said, I'm not a fan of all unions doing this, but for a presidential election, the rank and file are not just going to do it because Pat Lynch. When they send out, and the PBA used to send them out as a letter before elections for the smaller ones, congressional seats and city council seats, they have a lot more impact there. But presidential, I don't think there's a single cop we can find who says, you know, since Pat Lynch says Trump, I'll go with Trump today.
Good point.
Good. I just want to give a shout out to some people. Willie Dominique is in the building. Vivian, my cousin, Carissa's in the building. I see my man Phil McCray, Yush, Sensei. There's a lot of people. Lois is in the building. Valencia said something. She said, "Hey, somebody said he may have a right to endorse whomever, but he doesn't speak for everyone." Absolutely. And I think that was the point. I think it's the same thing as like when I was at church and my pastor at the time endorsed somebody. You don't speak for me. So maybe they need to stay away from that, endorsing whomever and whatever. I think, I know, Sammy, you're having a rally this weekend. Of course, I'm going to let you talk about that in detail. But Sammy, now let me ask you a question. Come from the political hat that you're wearing now, and you know, what are you feeling in regards to what the union is doing? Or I'm going to get into the mailbox stuff and all that, because like I said, today, right now, this is Real Talk Chronicles, and we're talking politics and law enforcement. So all these things are culminated together, and we're going to discuss this because this is crazy. Shout out to my man Gennaro in the building too. He's corrections. We're going to have corrections on too, because corrections is going through some stuff, and we need to converse about that. And we're really going to work on some postal police or post office individuals, employees. You know, I always try to get retired individuals to come out and talk, because, you know, I try to protect everyone's job, because I don't want you to get fired messing around with B, because it's real talk, and you might get you in trouble. So, Sammy, let me just ask you a question from a political standpoint. What do you feel about this whole union stuff? And let's delve into this political.
Yeah, well, a couple of things that I wanted to ask Mishira. So the union, so no, not ask, but I wanted to address a couple of things, as you said, which is the politics. I have obviously, I actually have sat down in front of union heads and try to seek their endorsement. They, you know, you sit down, they have candidate forums, and you sit down and you speak and try to make a case for that union to go with you as opposed to your opponent. All right. And that's their right, you know, and everybody has the right. We can't take that away from the police officers. I would never advocate, because then now we're going down the slippery slope that we're going to pick and choose winners and losers. And believe me when I tell you, the working man, the union is the last people, that's the last organizations that we have that can speak for us in order for us to keep our benefits. So, 24,000 in the sense that we're going to have it statewide, it's nothing. Trust me. And if you look at the landscape of what New York State is about, there is zero chance. And when I tell you zero chance that Donald Trump is going to win New York, and I can probably bet my house on it. And Moshira, I will sign it over to you if Donald Trump. I tell you right now, and hope you're recording this. I will sign it over to you if Donald Trump wins New York State. All right. So, having said that, that's why I tell people all the time, listen, in order for us to have a real voice, let's all either belong to one party where we can actually have a say on what it is. But the fact that the city did what they did to the PBA, I tell you, as a political person, I can understand why he did it, and I don't criticize it. Now, I'm having a rally this Friday. We're going to gather in the 236th Street and Broadway at 10 a.m. At 11 a.m., we're going to march towards Broadway. It's a peace and unity rally. With the amount of crime that's been going up, what I'm getting is a lot of people quietly, and I call it the silent majority. Some people may disagree, but this is what I believe. They are not too happy about the defunding the police movement and the fact that now the cuts in the police and the rising crime. Right now, crime, and Moshira, we were talking about it in the backstage, crime is going up 52% already in New York. People are getting shot left and right. By the way, I want a moment of silence for our correction brother, John Jeff, that got shot in Queens. So, Bill, if you allow me 3 seconds to obviously, keep him in our prayers, a fellow law enforcement officer.
Go ahead, baby.
Yeah. The violence that has right now plaguing New York is growing, and it's becoming a cancer. It's not the New York that you and Moshira. You remember you said about Broadway when we were undercovers. You became an undercover, and how Broadway used to be. Well, that was all cleaned up, and guess what? I drove by there yesterday, and it's Bill. You live close by. It's slowly becoming something that I'm like, wait a minute. We didn't, all that hard work. So I call it my peace and unity rally. Patty Lynch is going to be scheduled to be there. I actually got called. A couple of people called me and asked me why is he going to speak. He's going to speak because he's speaking about the fact that he would like the police officers to. He's trying to protect his members. They signed a diaphragm bill that police officers, like it or not, are very apprehensive of putting their hands on people and getting arrested. Because believe it or not, there is going to be a test case, Bill. There's going to be and I said it should have been Monahan, but obviously they're not going to collar Monahan. But it should have been Monahan because he had that kid on a chokehold. But there's going to be a test case, and a police officer is going to get arrested, and he's going to be put through the ringer. And you would want to be that cop that the DA's office, just to appease a certain group of people because they didn't like how a video was viewed, they're going to arrest that officer and they're going to put him through the system. What do you think the union is going to do? The union is under an obligation to its members to defend that officer, especially if it's a bill that's unfair. So, for me to not speak about that and knowing, because we can't take the rights of police officers away. You got to take the rights of teachers. Then you got to take the rights of electricians. Now you slowly got to take rights of people because you're going to pick and choose whose rights. And that's eventually, I believe that's what the right wants. The right wants to us to start picking each other apart, tear up the Constitution, tear up our unions, and then you know what? There's nobody there to defend us. So, I know I put a lot in there, you ask me any question that you want, but I totally get why Patty Lynch did that. I'm not criticizing it because, people can have their personal feelings about the subject, but at the end of the day, Patty has to do what's best for the cops.
No, I definitely respect what you're saying. Hold on. I got my brother in the building. I got Dwayne Montgomery in the building. I'm going to let him chime in, Dwayne, so he can catch up with us. Dwayne, I'm going to let Dwayne introduce himself. And Dwayne, the topic at hand is first and foremost, I'll let you catch up on a couple of topics. is one, do you feel what Pat Lynch did was right in your personal opinion? And then you can answer it from a supervisor. And then also, too, we're going to delve right into, after that, we're going to talk about politics. And Dwayne is a retired, also a former military man himself. So I'll let Dwayne Montgomery introduce himself and tell you what he did and how he did it. And then he can answer the question. Welcome to the show, Dwayne. Thank you, brother. Go ahead.
Thank you all. I'm Dwayne Montgomery, retired inspector from the NYPD Police Department, and a friend of Bill's.
It's called Beat Solo 3.
I commanded the 2A precinct. I worked in the training bureau. I worked in traffic. I worked in the Bronx. I worked in Manhattan. I had a well-rounded career. Now, which part of what Pat Lynch said? He said a lot.
Well, basically, Pat Lynch has endorsed Donald Trump.
Oh, the president.
Yes, the president. It killed me to say that, and I'm being facetious, but I'm so serious. You know what I'm saying? But he just endorsed that. And we were just here having a discussion about, did we think that was right or wrong? Asking you from your personal feelings. And then you can talk from a professional aspect from being a part of NYPD. How do you feel from both sides? So your personal.
Well, let me look at it first from the point of view that you got to understand who Pat Lynch is. Mm-hmm. Pat Lynch is the president of the PBA. It's point blank and simple. So whatever he does and says, it has to be for the benefit of his members. Because remember, he works at their leisure. He can be voted out just like he was voted in. Secondly, we all know that Trump is one of these rah. He stirs the pot. Okay? He stirs the pot to get what he wants. Pat Lynch is following suit. He's stirring the pot to get what he wants. Are they going to vote or follow Pat Lynch's lead? Probably, because based on them trying to minimize the Black Lives Movement by saying all lives matter, what he's trying to do again is stir up his base to get support, to try to contradict and take away from the Black Lives Matter movement, as though Black Lives Matter means all other lives does not matter. That's not the case.
That's an excellent point. Kevin, I'll let you chime in. And then Sammy, I want to ask you a question after Kevin chimes in. Go ahead, Kev. You have anything?
Well, look, I mean, I think we hit it all. I just, my opinion is, Pat Lynch and every other union head is what I said. I don't think we should be endorsing people that don't speak for the rank and file, and nobody will change their vote for Pat Lynch. This is way too controversial of an election. People already have their feet dug in. There ain't many players out there who are on the fence on where they stand with this. So Pat's not.
I agree with you. I personally feel that he should have stayed out of it, because what I have seen, and what I continue to see from our former members and our former co-workers, it's very disheartening. I see such a nasty, vile thing right now. To me personally, yes, when Obama got appointed president, a lot of people were coming out on the low with their personal feelings, which was very disheartening to me. But then once 45 got into office, everybody just felt like, I'm gonna say whatever I want to say, and I'm gonna be as disrespectful as I want to be. And it's just so crazy to me, and I don't understand that. And I'll say this, and I'll say it to anybody's face. I'll say it on this live stream because it's mine. It's my podcast, and I'll say what I want to say. But people that have actually worked this job talk about they took an oath to protect and serve, and they feel a certain way, but they say the things that they say that are so disrespectful, and it kills me. And I'll challenge anybody to tell me that, oh, you love America and you ain't racist, but you saying the most racist stuff in these groups and stuff like that, and I call you out. So you know what's so funny? And you're always welcome to come on the show and tell me why you said what you said. Because the bottom line is, it is what it is, and it was real disrespectful. Because the bottom line is, white, black, and no matter who you are, if you about the blood that flows through your vein and protecting that oath and about all humanity, you're not saying the things that you're saying. We all know politics is a dirty business. Democrats, Republicans, it is what it is. Everybody's for themselves. But to say the things that you're saying, and I'm going to come to you, Mashira, first with this. right now we have a female VP, a woman of color. And Sammy, you know this, you can chime in after this too. The things that they're saying, Rush Limbaugh is saying the craziest thing. He on his deathbed, he calling out her name. People are calling her hoes and stuff, talking about she slept her way to the top. Yo, it's crazy. Sammy, we was on your post. You know, you asked a simple question, and I had to ask that punk. I said, yo, how are you disrespecting a woman of color to a man on a man's post as a man of color to a man of color? You felt so comfortable calling her out her name. And she ain't, let me tell you something. We can talk about her record and the people she's incarcerated and stuff like that. But yo, just to be that comfortable, and I call it computer comfortable, and I call it Trump lovers, because you know what's so funny? You real disrespectful to feel that you can say what you want to say. What I'm reading and seeing in these posts, it is far beyond Democratic and Republican. I don't understand it. And on this note, you're not talking about the first lady who's a porn star. You know what I'm saying? Come on, if you want to keep it 100, she was a nude model. She was an immigrant. So everything that this dude is talking about is off the chain, and people are just co-signing it, and I don't understand that. So Mashira, I want to ask you a question. How do you feel about the fact that he is calling a woman of color out her name?
Well, first of all, that shocked me because I haven't heard that, and it when you said that, it shocked me and it didn't shock me. You know what I mean? In the last few years, people have gotten too comfortable, and I'm talking about everybody. I'm not just talking about left, right, conservative, liberal. Everybody's too comfortable that in order to assert their beliefs, what they feel are their rights and their power, they feel like they have to step on somebody else. And I mean, that goes on every level. You know, liberal people, whether they're trying to represent LGBTQ+ or atheists, you know, they want to stop things. So that means religious people, in order to not be homophobic, to not be anti-Semitic, they can't express their views. They're not allowed to say how they feel because they get demonized. Now I'm going to flip the script. Conservatives, you know what I'm saying, say things and they get demonized. My thing is, where was the respect lost? There used to be a time where we could debate intelligently and respectfully. And there was this little small word, it's 6 letters. It's called ethics. ETHIC. Yes, okay.
That was a cute one. All right.
Ethics. And with this whole tumultuous roller coaster that is Donald Trump, with the impeachment, I was brought back to the time when Nixon was impeached, and they showed a video about how when I'm not sure if it's the Congress, but when they had to vote about whether they were going to impeach him or not. And of course, the Republicans wanted to support him, but the evidence was so overwhelming. And back when they had ethics and they were following the rule of law and defending the Constitution, not only did many of those Republicans, with much difficulty, do the right thing and acknowledge that what he did was wrong. And they voted yay instead of nay for the impeachment. And there was one in particular I remember they showed in this little documentary, since this whole stuff has been going on with Trump, and of course they went back to Nixon and compared things. This one Republican said, he was shaking his head, and I can't remember his exact words, so I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, he basically said, with great difficulty, yay. You know what I mean? He struggled with it. He didn't want to do it, but they had ethics back then, morals, values, and it's just lost. People are selfish. They care about themselves as individuals and individual groups and not the well-being of all mankind. So I know I haven't focused on the woman thing that you asked me in particular, but it's all relative. It's about respect. And the last thing I'll say, just to respond to the woman thing, is when you think about the civil rights movement, first it was trying to get people of color, particularly Black folks, to get, say, one of the big aspects of the civil rights movement was to get the right to vote, right? Then women had to get the right to vote. You see, well, actually, I have it backwards. The point is, Black women are at the bottom of this totem pole. That's my point. Black and women of color. We're the last to get respect. We're the last to get equal pay. So that brings me to my very first statement I said to respond to you. It shocks me and it doesn't shock me.
Gotcha.
But it's the bottom line is it's not productive. And one last thing I'll say, I agree with Kevin, is at the end of the day, nothing we say, the union say, or anybody say, for 99.9% of it, is not going to change people's vote or lack of voting. And it's unfortunate.
You're right. You know what's so funny? I mean, and I want to harp on this topic, Kevin. I'll let you be last, of course, on this aspect. But Sammy and Dwayne, I want to ask you, how did you feel coming from an aspect where a man, people calling this lady out her name, and you know, for no reason. I mean, like she ain't do anything to anybody else. Let me tell you something. We can talk about records. You know, that people call it, you know, Creepy Joe, and you know, I got people now. And so going back about Joe and this and Joe and that, and Miss Harris and this and that. But you know, it's so no matter what Trump does, they are so in love with this dude, and I can't get it. And I said this earlier today for the promo for this show that right now I'm starting to feel like there's a difference between a Republican and a Trump supporter. I really start to feel that way because there's nothing wrong with being a Republican. My father was a Republican. And I had no problems with that. And a lot of people, no, and I get it, Kev. You understand what I'm saying? But wait a minute. I think there's a difference in supporting this dude. And when we start fact checking over 1,200 lies and misclaims and stuff like that, you know, it's getting delusional. A person got mad at me because I said Republicans are being delusional if you're supporting him, Trump supporters, and I shouldn't say Republican, because Sammy and I have conversed about this before, that we have certain ideologies that are conservative. But, you know, everybody here is prior law enforcement, so we do believe in law and order. But, you know, the thing, but it's you know, you have an immigrant wife, but you want to stop people coming from the border. You know, you talk about the Mexicans is going to build a wall. They ain't building a wall. You ain't even got a wall. You got a fence. You know what I'm saying? There's just so many different things that misclaim is. But I just want to ask Sammy and Dwayne, and then I can go to you, Kevin, that what do you feel about the fact that he's calling this woman of color out of her name? You
want to go first, Dwayne? Want to answer that?
Yeah, I go first. What do I think? I'm not shocked. I'm not surprised. If you remember when Barack Obama was president, he was the first president that I can recall in the history that they called a liar. All right, during his state of one of the State of the Union addresses. That disrespect has trickled down and has gotten worse tenfold since Trump has gotten into office. And so I am not surprised at all. But as you said, it's important for us to more or less know the woman, know her record, and tout her record. Okay? Yes, she may have been a prosecutor, but that was only part of her life success stories. Okay? What about when she did the re-entry program for the low-level drug dealers, 18 to 24, okay, who got in trouble? She sent to a boot camp. If they completed the boot camp, you know what? It was as if that situation never happened. And while in the boot camp, they got job training. Right? They got connected with employers, you know, of companies and businesses so they can get a job. These are the things that we have to counter their negative rhetoric with. But also, too, just let me go back to this Pat Lynch thing real quick. If you notice, one of the reasons why Pat Lynch went to the president for support was because he wasn't getting the support locally from his local politicians and officials. So therefore, he tried to go somewhere to save face with his membership by taking it national.
You're muted, Bill. You're muted, Bill. You're muted.
Go ahead, Sammy. Thank you.
All right. So, like I said, we touched on this before Dwayne came on. I disagree with him. He tried. The local officials would have nothing to do with him. You know, they were trying to trip themselves over in order to pass a bill because there was the fever of, you know, let's do police reform. And in New York City, the fever of doing police reform after having a successful neighborhood coordinating program, which was only 2.5 years old and working, because I was one of the ones that helped implement it. was a travesty. We could have had a mayor that said, hey, listen, that happened in Minneapolis. Here in New York City is different. We're heading in the right direction. We could have done certain things, for him and the city council to trip over themselves and pass a bill on top of the state legislature was a travesty. That's why I said I believe that Patty Lynch was not. Let me use the right wordage here. I can see why he did that, because he wasn't having a partner, not because he was being blown off. He was actually trying to seek the city council and tell them, listen, bring in, usually when you pass a bill of this magnitude, you bring in people, you have hearings, you bring experts. None of that was done. And that's a travesty. And so what is it? Police officers have less rights? That's bullshit. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I say that? Sorry, Bill.
No, you can say that. This is real talk. You can say what you want to say. Exactly.
So that's where I disagree. It's there's somehow, and I'm not going to Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is not a fan, but not because he was a prosecutor. So what? He was a prosecutor. That was her life choice, and her part of being a prosecutor was putting people in jail. I don't understand. What's the problem with that? If the laws were this and she was doing her job, then so what? The wrong thing would be that she was not. She was letting rapists and murderers and people that rob. That would be wrong. No, I'm not gonna decide. I'm gonna decide not to put these people in jail or prosecute them because of whatever reason, because they're Latinos, because they're this or that. But she's a prosecutor, folks, and this is where the Democratic Party misses the boat, and a lot of people rather not deal with the Democratic Party, and this is why they take us minorities for granted, because of stuff like this. We got to make excuses that she was a prosecutor. She was doing her job. Let's get off of that. Now she put people in jail. That was her job. Yeah. Come on, really?
It's so funny. You, Sammy. I'm gonna let Kevin on this. Kevin, unmute yourself. But it's so funny how I think that would her being a prosecutor would sway more to the conservatives or Republicans that are on the fence with 45, because she put a lot of people in color in incarceration. So the bottom line is, what are y'all upset with her about? Only because she's a Democrat? If she was a Republican, you'd be happy with her.
I'm sorry, Bill, and you know how I feel about this. We were in a cottage. We put a lot of people of color in, So let's not sit here and think that we're mightier than thou. And I'm not being disrespectful to you. I'm just saying myself.
No, I know what you're saying. You keep it.
And I'm trying to criticize the Democratic Party because grow she was a prosecutor. That was her job.
Now, prosecute.
You're right.
You
blame. What you got to do is you got to blame the governor. You got to blame the legislature that didn't put programs and other things in place for the minority communities to thrive. But don't blame her because you passed laws and then she was making sure those laws are enforced. That's BS, and that's where I get angry. And believe me, Kamala Harris was not my first choice. But this excuse that she was a prosecutor, now you got to find excuses that, and I'm sorry, Dwayne, not you, because I've heard the same argument. Oh, but when she was a prosecutor, she created a program to get kids out of jail. No, she didn't even have to do that, and we shouldn't apologize for that. As Democrats, we should not do that, and it kills me because this is where the middle of America, the silent majority, is thinking like, whoa, wait a minute, I don't understand. Why? Because I got people asking me, so she was the prosecutor, so does that make her a bad person? No, it doesn't make her a bad person. Just like it didn't make you being a detective, Bill, a bad
exactly.
Just like it didn't make Wayne being a CO of the 2A precinct a bad person. You were doing your job and you did it well.
Yeah, we had to do that. Go ahead, Kev. After Kev talks, I'll let people
all right. Bill, I gotta take it a step back because you guys lost me a little bit. What does calling out her name mean?
When you're calling her a bitch, a hoe, and things of that magnitude. Because they calling her all out her name. She being called. Talk about she's
I'm sitting there going, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm trying to say. listen, if you want to talk about a record, you want to talk about a policy.
Yeah, of course.
You want to talk about the fact that she has an interracial relationship. You want to talk about that she's a biracial child. You know, okay, it is what it is. I mean, I got people, and I'm gonna hit my Democratic people up too. Listen, yo, you mad? You talking about she was rough on her brothers? I get it, but yo, what are you going to do? I'm tired. I am so tired of people talking about, oh, they tired of Joe and Kamala, and but you don't like Trump, but he is what it is. Listen, either you gonna vote or shut up, because that walking that fence game right now is real whack. Listen, it's a whack move, because the bottom line is, and I tell people all the time, until I get out there and run for office, I gotta follow the masses that's already in place. You understand what I'm saying? Until then, I can only be a vessel of information, which I try to be with Real Talk Chronicles. So go ahead, Kev.
Well, I mean, this is to me is simple then, right? Mm-hmm. Anybody who talks about anybody running for office and disrespects them is you're just wasting your breath, and you know, you look at yourself in the mirror. Right. You know, I might disagree with a candidate. I can disagree with somebody's and their core beliefs, but I'm not going to insult them on a personal level. It's just not that. I'm not that. I don't believe in that. That's, you know, and anybody who does those kind of things, those Trump tactics, you know, shame on you, you know, as a person.
Yeah.
You know?
And like I said, Kev, you know, I mean, I know you're a Republican, but you know what's so funny? Like I said, and I tell my father was a Republican, and my father used to always say, he said, "Yo, the party I join to doesn't mean that's the person I have to vote for." And I tell people all the time, you go for whatever moves you, man. I just want to shout out some people. I got my man Earl Leslie in the building. It's Green is in the building. What's up, Willie Dominique? Great topics and great show. Kudos to Bill. Keep up the great work. Thank you. I see Robbie's in the building. Inga said 45 administration only wants law enforcement behind them because I feel he wants to use force against his perceived enemies, just like Hitler did. Wow. Okay. Without the enforcement to carry, I ain't saying you wrong, sis. Without the military and law enforcement to carry out strong. Hold on. Let me get the rest of it. Military carry strong armed people. Watch how he will hunker down, barricade himself, and be protected by them that he has lied to get his way. People will need to look at the larger impact to 45 staying in power versus pissed at the council, but I get it. You know, also she says, although she was a Dem, she had to reluctantly vote for a Republican sheriff in Florida because there were only two Republican choices. My decision came down to the lesser of two evils. One who didn't believe there was a systematic racism that played a role in George Floyd's death. Now he's a buffoon, etc. And the other who did acknowledge that and stated that would work to improve diversity and training. I voted for the latter. I totally understand that. What's up, Darren? What's up, Althea? What's up, my cousin Linda's in the building. Deborah said Trump is a narcissist. He thinks he's above everyone's and their mentality. I have no I guess not here. Okay, I'm not here. Anyone address his comment calling her a mean which is worse than me. I'll read that. Shout out to Kenneth Hines. What's up, brother? I should respect you. Paula, I feel it's blatantly disrespectful for a man to call a woman out of her name, and he needs to be bitch slapped by a brother for this behavior. You know what's so funny, Paula? He would, but Trump has security for the rest of his life. He's not that dude. He ain't built like that. You know, I see computer tough guys all the time, and then when you get them face to face, and when you tell them, you know, let me tell you something, Sammy, you know this, Kev, you know this, Dwayne, you know this, Mashira, you know this. It's a whole different game when nobody's breaking up that fight. You understand what I'm saying? And I've been in that game. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't built, I see a lot of people talk a real good game. And, you know, Sammy, let me ask you a question. I want to ask you this. What's up, Robin? What's up, Al? What's up, Doug? What are you going to do at this rally, Sammy, because they're going to dog Black Lives Matter. They're going to talk about liberals. They're going to talk about Democrats. They're going to talk about a lot of things. They're going to talk about people of color. You know they are. Pat Lynch doesn't hold his tongue. And it's going to be a rally of, if it's pro cops, they don't have any filter when they start disrespecting people of color, and they're gonna say all the most vile things. And you're gonna walk a fine line there. And I'm not asking you to choose. I'm just how you gonna feel and what you're gonna do. You know.
Excellent question. It's not just white people showing up at the rally. So, you know, there's going to be African Americans showing up. I have actually secured 3 African American preachers. There's going to be police officers of color. Bill, I think you know me to know that, you know, talks of racism in front of me will not keep me quiet, and will not keep me quiet. You know, so I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of that.
And I'm not asking, and I know you're not. The bottom line is you and I always walked this. Hold on, Sammy. You and I have always walked this ladder together, and I think that's what's always solidified our relationship and our friendship and our brotherhood. But the thing is, right now, it's like in a chat room with people that are like-minded, and you're the only one that thinks outside the box. You know, you're putting yourself, because I really thought about coming to be there with you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I know if I hear the wrong thing, and then say hypothetically the dude that I had an argument with on your post, if he say that, yo, it's gonna be a different game, and I'm coming for that. So that's I know I have to exclude myself from that situation, because you know what? Now I'm setting myself up for failure. So go ahead.
So a couple of things. So when the thing happened with George Floyd, I went to a couple of Black Lives Matter movement, because you know, obviously, you know me, I support, you know, especially the ones that are especially the ones that are peacefully, and the ones that stay on message. And very important that in my march, everybody stays on message. Am I going to guarantee that some clown is going to say something stupid? No. Give you an example. At the second Black Lives Matter movement, that I'm going to withhold the city or where it was. You know, somebody was being disparaging towards immigrants. It is an African American person being disparaging towards immigrants,
And
so my whole thing is that, am I going to hold the whole rally responsible? You know me, Bill, that I'm not.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, any immigrant person like myself can tell you that every now and then you're going to find people of African American that are African American that are worse than our white counterparts when it comes to matters of immigration.
But Sammy, you and I talked about this, and
we've spoken about this. I like.
Yeah.
I'm trying to answer your question. The question is that there are people that do things at certain rallies that sometimes you don't have control. That doesn't mean you don't do it, because the message that I can't shy away from the message that I want to share, which is unity, peace, support for our law enforcement officials. Kevin, if you know, it's this Friday at 10, please show up if you can. But I can't shy away, because shying away, then it takes away from what I am. It's like me, you know, today, you know, I kind of was challenged by somebody when I was trying to get them registered for the census. You know, I'm trying to get more people because Latinos are at 50% right now. We're not being counted. You know, some person that said something stupid. This person happened to be Latino, but am I going to stop now? You know, signing people up? No. You know, we do things because they're hard, not because they're easy. You know,
well, I totally agree with that, and I was just saying that because, you know, what's so funny, you as the organizer, a fine line, between integrity.
Yes.
You know what's so funny? You and I have talked about this. Kevin and I have talked about this. You know, we walk this line between stupidity and loyalty. You know what I mean?
All the time.
and, you know, I mean, like, listen, yo, I have no problems. Listen, I'll tell the whole world. There's a lot of people out here that I know that think I'm anti-police. No, I'm just super pro-black. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. It's like you're supposed to be pro who you are. I tell people all the time. I had a person say to me, he said, "Yo, Bill, like you know, with Sherry, like you said." I said, "Listen." They said, "Yo, you're a police officer." Hey man, I'm 55 years black, from 26 years law enforcement. You tell me I can't do the math. And what I don't understand is people lose sight of that. So,
yeah, but you don't, Bill. I'm sorry, but you don't have to pick and choose. You can
I'm not.
And that's what I'm choosing to do. You know, I'm choosing to be both. You know, I'm choosing law and order as a way of protecting the people of color. because before this whole pandemic, and there's a lot of reasons, not just the bill that happened. So let's I want to make it clear that I'm not just blaming the bill. The bill has something to do with it, but doesn't change the fact that over 1,000 people of color have gotten shot. These people are people, and a brother in blue got killed. And I'm gonna say his name again. John Jeff, he got killed.
Yeah,
people.
So Sammy, let me just say this, and I'm gonna move on to Kevin, Dwayne, and Michelle. No. We can do this. This is real talk. We get hype. But what I'm trying to say is that just as you see, that's why you my man, and I love you and I support you, because you mentioned corrections, just like we got correction people out there. Correction is blue. We're all blue. But Kev, this, Dwayne this, Michelle, this. There are so many different law enforcement that are NYPD that don't respect corrections for reasons I don't know. But they ain't switching jobs. They ain't trying to go in there and get them hands. You know what I'm saying? But they sit out here and talk about I don't see them as cops. You silly asses. Go ahead, Kev. Say whatever you want to say. I'm sorry.
Hey, look, Sammy, I wish you well the rally, and I'll think about that for Friday. Then thank you for the offer. No, honestly, I don't like rallies. I don't like protests. I don't, it's just things
Peace
I like
and
to
unity
avoid
march.
in
It's
life.
called Peace and Unity March.
Peace and Unity March, and I'm sure that's what it'll be. And I'm sure, Sammy, if somebody was up on the stage who was actually speaking and spoke out of turn, he'd be removed from the stage. It's a knucklehead in the audience is a little.
We can't deal with the knuckleheads in the audience. And what's so funny, Kevin? That's why I was saying what I was saying, because as Sammy, or you, or Michelle, or Dwayne, I know you all have certain high integrity. And a shout out to all my law enforcement people. Please don't. I don't want you to think I'm anti-law enforcement. I love you guys. I'll go through walls. Let me tell you something. Some of the best people I've gone through through doors with are white officers, my brothers, my Latin officers, my black officers, my females. I had my longest tenured female partner was Kim Wiley. Shout out to Kim in the building. So I say all that to say, but you can't change the masses. And just like I'm talking about the rally and people saying things crazy, it's the same thing with people antagonizes and Antifa joining the Black Lives Matter movement. So you can't be responsible for one, but it's going to be part of the environment. Because let me tell you something: if something goes off, what the news will pick is somebody showing a Black Lives Matter sign doesn't mean anything, and they're going to say, "See, this is why I didn't go to the rally." And this is the thing, Sammy. You're going to have some black officers there. You're going to have some Latin officers there. But this is the whole thing. Dwayne, Kevin, Michelle, we all know there's a big disparity between black officers feeling the way they feel, and a lot of white officers and Latin officers, they walk the fence for whomever they feel. But there's a whole big disparity, and we're going to talk about that. But Kev, I want you to chime in and say what you feel and anything in regards to the rallies or anything that we just talked about, because you're my man. I know you sound. I mean, there's people in here that got some comments. We're going to try to get to some statements. Go ahead.
Bill, you mentioned a quick thing. You threw it out there quickly that one media will cover the thing and pull out whatever little tidbit they want. And this is my challenge to the audience to learn a little bit about the way the media works and how we need to open our eyes a little bit better. Pick anything. Pick a President Trump speech. Pick a Biden speech. Pick one of each. Watch it entirely. Then go on CNN and go on Fox and read about that same speech. And you're going to scratch your head and go, did they watch that speech? And it might be that Fox completely misreads Biden's speech and CNN misreads Trump's speech, or some mixture of each. But you are going to see it. I spent 2 or 3 months leading up to the 2016 election just spending 5 minutes a day on Fox and CNN, and I laughed on how funny it was, how they both described the same incident, and it looked like neither one was there. And you have to go and watch that. You have to watch a video. You have to watch the thing yourself. And you're going to realize that for both angles, I don't care what party you're with, what side you like, our news is pushing us with an agenda, and it's not helpful to us at all.
That's an awesome point. Dwayne, I'm going to come to you and Michelle. I'm going to ask you this question. There is a big disparity between black officers and white officers right now when we talk about politics. I think, I've had white officers say to me, and even some Latin officers, they walk the fence, but I've had white officers say to me, I've changed. And I tell them all the time, you didn't even know me just because you bought me a beer at a rally, a racket. You know what I'm saying?
Bill, you haven't changed.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Thank you. And I say all that to say that, Dwayne, can you just elaborate on why they think people of color have sold themselves to the badge and left their ethnicity alone? And I just want to give a shout out to like Darren Gall. He said, at this point, it's a badge of honor that people I used to work with that have unfriended me because of a so-called liberal. And it's crazy. Like you can't have a different ideology if it's not conservative or law enforcement. Shout out to Andre Juggernaut Richardson. He said, hey, lady, Will Fox. He's talking to you, Mashira. Jose Cabrera, Stupider. Lucky's in the building. Barbara Hogan. Nice 2-8 love. Took us under our wing when we came there. So go ahead, Dwayne and Mashira. I want y'all to comment on that. So go ahead, Dwayne.
First, let me say, hey, Barbara.
Yeah.
Long time no see, no hear.
Yeah.
Thank you for stopping in and watching. All right. Yeah. As you know, Bill, the racism that's on this job, it is not new. It's not new. It's been there when we were coming on the job. When we were on the job, it was there before we came on the job. And that's evident by the Guardians and all the other organizations who had to be formed and come about and take a stance just to get us what the same rights that our counterparts were getting. Basically, the rights to get promoted, the rights to even wear the badge. So that's the first thing. Secondly, our era on the job, we had real hardcore militants. Period. All right. We spoke what we felt. We didn't try to hide it. We didn't try to sugarcoat it. Now you get a lot of officers on the job where they feel speaking out will more or less negatively impact their career. We all know the hook, which is, knowing somebody of a high rank that can get you something on the job. We all know the hook is alive and hooking. And a lot of these officers feel, well, if I say something that's controversial, if I make a big stink about it, you know what? This individual is going to distance himself from me, or I won't be able to get to this elite unit. Additionally, you got the officers who feel that we don't stick together. We don't stick together as a group. So if they were to make noise or make a stink about something, they feel that they will be out there by themselves, left to handle the backlash. And again, they all have to more or less be brave and be true to who they are and who they are, first and foremost. That uniform, it is nothing but a uniform. That uniform is not their personality. It doesn't define who they are. Who they are has been more or less instilled, ingrained in them from the time they were born on this planet. And they have to be strong enough to more or less let their personality and their belief overshadow the peer pressure of their counterparts.
That's awesome. Thank you. Kevin, I want you to throw something in your ear. I want you to answer when I come to you. That, how do you feel as being a white officer? People like you, Jimmy Hughes, Scotty Rothman, my man John Cross, that are just fair. Like you just want to come to work and do your job. You sign up to do bad guy shit, and you I'm sure because a white person will feel comfortable saying white shit around you, and you have to look and say, okay, boom, that's crazy. I just want you to throw that marinade on that as I go to Mashira and stuff like that. But Mashira, yeah, I mean, what is your take on how people are feeling in regards to just the disparity between right now? If you say something against law enforcement or something like that, it's like, oh, you're an outcast. How can you? You're supposed to be blue. Tell me what your thoughts are on that, sis. Go ahead.
Double-edged sword, basically, like you described it. It's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And I want to say this, preface this in mind with anybody who's on Real Talk Chronicles right now that is not law enforcement. Because we all, meaning us guys on here, have to explain things in a way not just talking to each other, but so that they can understand it. So, the example I'm going to give to you, when I was a rookie, still on a foot post, ain't even getting a car yet, right? I got a rude awakening, a wake-up call, because I went onto the job very idealistic. I'm a woman of color. I'm going to be there for the people. I'm not going to be abusive. I'm going to keep people safe and enforce the law while still respecting people, right? And, there's not pressure, but there's an expectation of activity, especially when you're on a foot post and you're a rookie, writing tickets and things like that. And being a rookie, not knowing a lot, I was writing up a plate that I was kind of confused how to write it because it had the letters MD on it, which meant a medical doctor. And, because I didn't know how to write it, I'm like, do I put the MD in? Whatever. So while I'm trying to write this ticket, the doctor who owned that car comes running out and is like, why are you writing me up? I'm parked right in front of the clinic. I'm here to take care of a patient, da, 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 da. Now, we all know that the patrol guide and everything doesn't cover every situation. You don't know what to do. Certain things you're going to learn when you're on the job. But I was so focused on trying to get off that foot post and get in the car by having activity that I forgot to be kind of use that discretion that they teach us. But remember that key word that they taught us in the academy is when we can use discretion.
Absolutely.
And when you cannot. There's must arrest and can arrest. They teach us there's times when you have no choice, you have to arrest the person. But there are times when you can, but you can use discretion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And right. And when I came on the job after that incident and incidents that were more serious than that one, than writing a ticket where you talk about arrests, I've had situations where I tried to be the arbitrator. I tried to de-escalate situations. And basically, I learned very quickly that if you are too nice, you will get no respect from the people that you're trying to help, whether that means help a domestic situation, two people fighting, to stop it, and you will lose control. They teach you to maintain control of the situation for everybody's safety. So, for people to have this perception that if you don't defend the cops, then you get the people who like the cops against you. But if you go against them, then you're, a traitor, basically. You have to be a human first. It has to be about your personal priorities, because like we keep talking about how you Black first, and someone says, yeah, I'm this race, but I'm a cop too. And it's about your personal priorities.
Excellent.
So
personal priorities.
It falls down.
And I think, Sammy and I, there's some people, like you said, Kevin has always said he's blue. I'm a second generation person of law enforcement, Marines, military. My uncle was one of the first Black Marines in the United States. He got a Congressional Medal of Honor from Obama before he passed away. He's 90-some years old. So I get the military mentality, I get the law enforcement, I get repping your team, I get all that. But then understanding ethics, and because like we got 3 military people here. And we can talk about that too, because we go to the post office, but I want Kevin to chime in before I jump somewhere. What about the oath that we all took? All 5 of us took an oath, right? To protect and serve. It didn't say use our biases to behoove us. So I just want to go to Kevin. I want Kev to chime in. Go ahead, Kev. I'm sorry. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Bill. I was out for like the last 3 minutes. My internet went. I didn't hear much what was going on.
Well, we were just talking about. Remember, I wanted you to find out how you as a.
Bill, I gotta restart my thing.
Okay, and come back. I got you. All right, Sammy. I got you. I got Dwayne. I got Mashira. Kevin's gonna reboot himself. I see Dolly's in the building. What's up, Dolly? I grew up with Dolly. Dolly, you need to be in here. We're talking politics. Dolly and I grew up together, but she is stone hard cold. I don't know if you Trump 45 supporter. That's a whole nother topic. Donna Edwards in the building. Jonas is in the building. What's up, Jonas? What's up, Joshua Rodriguez? So it is so much love. Kevin is back. Kev, can you hear us or?
While we're still waiting for Kevin, Bill, one of the things too that we have to do that's important for us to more or less stem the tide or change the tide on this job, we have to start rising through the ranks. Okay, we have to start taking these exams, rising through the ranks. So this way, we're not the ones just following the procedures. We are the ones making the procedures. Okay, we have to have an input at the top. When you as you rise through the ranks, if you're at the scene, you're in charge of the situation. You're not. It's no one's coming on the scene, captains or above. Most of the time, you got the duty captain there that's calling the shots. No one's going to come on that scene and take charge of that situation and tell the duty captain what to do. It may be a situation that, where an inspector may be in charge, but the chief may be in charge. But again, if we rise through those ranks, we are that person that is in charge. Secondly, when you are in charge, you have to make the decision that's the right decision, not the popular decision that people are expecting you to make. All right. I remember a quick war story that I don't normally tell. I had a situation where one of my officers when I was assigned to the 2-8, working at midnight, responded up to one of the housing developments. An officer screaming on the radio, 1013, he needs help. So we tried to get in, could not get in, could get through the magnetic door. So the officer pulled out his firearm and tried to shoot the window, one of the plexiglass window, to no avail. However, being that I was a captain that was working, I had to do the investigation. So I'm getting all these calls from the borough chief, the inspector, this and the other. Oh, well, you got to suspend this guy. Oh, you got to take his firearm and put him on modified assignment. He used his gun, ABC, X, Y, and Z. It was outside of the firearm discharge rules. So I listened to all that nonsense. When it was all said and done, I didn't suspend the guy. I didn't change his duty status. I said, because you know what? I got to look at the underlying reason for why he did what he did.
You were there. So you were there. You understand. But see, I mean, I think we have to understand, and this is all for all the civilians out there that are listening. It's a whole different mentality when you in it, fighting and wrestling and tussling with somebody. I always tell the story when people always say about, oh yeah, you see they all jumped on this one guy, and I always tell a story. I said, if you were walking down the street, minding your business, coming from the grocery store, and you looked and you saw your sister or your brother or a family member fighting somebody in the street, would you run up to them and ask them and break it up and say, well, wait a minute, what happened here? How did this start? Or are you going to do the family thing and run and get all in it? Because that's what's happening. If you fight my family, there's no conversation that we're having. You're just going to get these hands, and when it's all over, I'm going to find out. And I think every officer here has kind of experienced some kind of aspect where we've been in a situation, something has escalated to epic proportions of problems, and then later on we get back in the precinct and we find out it was this POS that we worked with that he could have just de-escalated it, but it just turned into a thing. But you have to represent and follow and rock with him because he's blue. And then when you get back to the precinct, you're like, really, dog? Over that? Or you could have just let that go? You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. So go ahead, Kev. Kev, you with me?
All right, I'm back, I think. Yeah,
my man. Go ahead.
So Dwayne, first, I got to commend you for making that decision, because that is the rarest thing in the police department where somebody makes a decision based on the way they feel, the way they see things, and that's just it, because you risked your career by making that decision. The easy decision was suspend him. You can't go wrong with suspending him. Nobody will second guess you, and that's it. They'll second guess you the other way. So I commend you. And that's the thinking the police department lacks, right? It's giving supervisors the ability to make a decision, to make a mistake once in a while, but to make a decision based on, facts at hand, things that were going on, the right thing to do. Was it the right thing to get rid of that ticket for that doctor? Of course it was. Can somebody have perceived that you getting rid of that ticket as a corruption issue, that you got rid of it because you're a corrupt cop? Yeah. And it would be much easier to just write it and apologize and walk away quickly. So being able to make those kinds of decisions is where we lack. We're kind of robotic, And we base a lot of times our decisions on what will it do for me as the boss? What will get me into trouble? Where will it risk my career? And most bosses, if they think it is a slim chance of risking their career, they're going to make the easy out.
Yo, Kev, let me ask you a question while I have you. First and foremost, let me tell everybody this is Real Talk Chronicles. You know, I'm your host. Myself and my lovely wife, she's doing other things. But I have my partner in crime that's always with me here every time we do this. And at my esteemed panel, I got Kevin Branzetti, I have Moshiro Rodriguez, I have Sammy Ravello, I have Dwayne Montgomery. I thank them all the time because let me tell you something. I open up the door for people, anybody who wants to come on here and speak about law enforcement, good, bad, and different. It is what it is. I appreciate all the support and love from the back. But you know what's so funny? Because I get the inboxes, I get the texts and how you feeling, what you think, and this, and you know, some of y'all try to take shots at me, and I don't understand. Your hands too short. There's a new song out right now. My man said, "Yo, try Jesus, don't try me." You know what I'm saying? Because I don't understand what's wrong with some of y'all. Go ahead, Sammy. I know you want to say something. Go ahead. Hold on.
You have to unmute yourself, Sammy.
I got you. Go ahead, Sammy. Go ahead.
All right. So just a couple of things. I don't know how long ago you got, some of you guys have been retired. I just retired a year and 15 days ago, 16 days ago. So I'm sorry, 19 days. So I'm fairly removed, and I kind of seen the changes. I just want to make sure that people know that one thing that is just breaking news. There was a group of Black Lives Matter protesting in front of Patty Lynch's home today. They sent me the video. They sent me the video. I will forward it to you. I don't particularly agree with that, but whatever. So I just want to say the last, to answer some of Dwayne's issues that he said, taking because Dwayne came to the precinct, to the 4-6 precinct. I don't know if he remembers a couple of years ago, and he saw that everybody that was in charge in that precinct, from the SOL, who was me, to the ICO, to the CO, to the XO, to two of the three platoons, we were all of the lieutenants, we were all people of color. All right, so it's changing. So I want to make sure, you know what it is? What's happening is that, and Bill, you know that I say this, and I want to make sure that people know this. What happens in Alabama, or whatever happens in another state in the police department, and a reflection on what we do here. And what happens is that the people that come here, that's happening over there, because Kevin said this, the media is a driving force on everything that happens. Now, upstate New York is a little different. Probably where Wayne is, Orange County, they're a little different over there. They have a little different procedures. They probably have a little ways to go. I don't know, by the way. But what I'm saying is that New York City is taking everything that's happening somewhere else and trying to apply it to themselves, and they make a mistake. I'm going to tell you the Bronx, because that's why a lot of people are asking me if I run for Bronx Borough President. Because they want somebody that's sensible, somebody that finally is going to probably make some sensible decision, somebody that's going to speak for the silent majority. The Bronx, just so you know, and I tell people all the time, and you know this, Bill, because me and you were undercovers. We've been police officers a long time. The district attorney in the Bronx has been an African American for the last 40 years. 40 years have had an African American district attorney.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're gonna tell me there's systematic racism going on in the Bronx, and people are going, "You're Robert Johnson and Darcy Clark happened to prosecutors."
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying that they're doing a bad job, but what I'm saying is that let's keep it focused. Now, the police department, Dwayne, in which I'm going to agree with you, has changed a lot since I came on. I came on, and Bill said it very eloquently. It was a little different. There was still a good old boy mentality, and back in '94 when I came on, but it's changed. It's changed. It's not there. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's changed and kumbaya, but it's changed to the point that we have the chief. The last two commissioners of community affairs have been people of color, Nilda Hoffman and now Madry. We have a chief of detectives as an African American. We have a Dominican chief of patrol. You know, there are progresses that we're made. We're not, like I said, we're not there yet, but we can now expect. Now, let's say, listen, unless we have everything and everybody else is excluded because we're going to exclude anybody that's white, then we are just as bad as they were probably in the 50s.
But
So we.
Sam, so funny. Let me piggyback, and I'll let Dwayne and I'll let Mashira and I'll let Kev. We can all chime in on this before we time out. I want to say some other things, but let me tell you something. It's one thing to have a person of color in a high position rank, but it's another thing. Of color in the high position rank doesn't do anything for the.
That's correct.
Let me tell you something. I know the chief of patrol. I know Rodney, all righteous dudes. You understand what I'm saying? So it's
I'll tell you what. I like Rodney, chief of patrol, not so much.
And I get it.
All right, but Bill, let me weigh in on something. But what you got to understand, Sammy, and everybody who's on the job, look at the history of NYPD, okay? You put African Americans and Latinos in position of power as figureheads. Let's go back to the days of David Scott, all right? David Scott, chief of patrol, right? David Scott makes chief of department. Person from chief of department moves up to the first deputy commissioner. The powers that was given to the first deputy commissioner, the chief of department head was taken and given to the first
agree.
Dep.
That's when I came on the job, you know, and that's why I said back then we've made a progress, which I agree with you. 100%.
But are we making progress, or are they just doing the show game?
I believe,
and the reason why I say that again is that you had Phil Banks. Phil Banks was in community affairs. All right. Phil Banks, just recently, not too long ago, Phil Banks was the chief of department. Phil Banks wanted to go, they offered him the position of first dep because the chief of department was a powerful position. However, they did not want Phil Banks to take certain powers with him, as they did to some of his predecessors.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, the shell game still exists. All right. It's still, you know what, moving the pieces around, this, that, and the other, with the illusion that these people have real power. Right. Some of them may have relationship and connections where they may have a little bit more power, but where does the buck really stop?
But with Phil Banks, I think it's a little more than I think there was a little more behind the scenes happening with Phil Banks than just he was a black guy. You know, because you know, there was some issues there, you know, that, you know, I'm not going to discuss obviously now or in public. But there was something behind it, some of the behind the things. What I had a problem with when they removed Phil Banks, because everybody remember, you know, you put a police commissioner, and this falls on Bill de Blasio, the worst mayor that I think we've ever had. This falls on Bill de Blasio, Dwayne, and I don't know if you agree with me. I don't know how you feel about de Blasio, but when he put O'Neill, you know, there should have been, or when he picked Bratton, there should have been some assurances that there were going to be some positions, you know, filled.
But let me ask you this. I got two questions.
You know, I think de Blasio, because I know Giuliani would have bullied his way onto getting what he wanted. You know,
I got two questions. The first question is, look at the history of NYPD. Did Phil Banks do anything different or other than what his predecessors did and got away with? Exactly.
No.
Point two. How many times have you looked at the makeup of the executive branch of the NYPD? Okay, the majority of it, I don't think I've ever seen a time where there was more than 3 African Americans on that executive board. All right. Now, if you were to question that, you know what they would say? Well, I picked the most qualified. So now, if I was the PC, okay, and my board looked the reverse, everybody up there was people of color except for 3. You know what they would say? And I said that I picked the most qualified. You know what? I will have hell to pay for doing exactly what they did.
Okay. So I'm going to answer, like I said, because we can debate Phil Banks. I think Phil Banks there's something behind the scenes with him. But I'm going to answer his question about, you know, it was actually brought up, you know, Bratton brought a lot of the fraternals when we came on board, you know, and one of the things that you just said was brought up, Dwayne. And you know what's going on, because it's not just African Americans. You know, Latinos are a bigger number. And
I said people of color, that includes Latinos as well.
Right. And
Asian.
The reason why I say that, because I'm going to give you a number. The last 8 academy classes, and I think I said this the last, the majority of the people that have come on the job are people of color. And with overwhelmingly Dominicans have come on the job in an unbelievable amount of numbers. You know, Raisa gave me the numbers, and, you know, I confirmed it with Angel Furman, and I was floored. The last 8 academy classes. So, you know, we are.
Sammy, hold on. Let me interject. I gotta interject. But a lot of times, people of color coming on this job don't mean they people of color, because a lot of times, you know this, and I say this to a lot of my Latin friends out here and my brothers and sisters out here. A lot of Latin people get on the job and they sell their soul to that, and they get a little bit. And
anybody can sell their soul. I agree.
But also, Bill, too, people come on this job, people of color. You know what? Another reason why they come on this job, not so much because, you know, the NYPD is doing a great job at recruiting minorities, so-called minorities. It's because we're fed up with the nonsense. So the only way we feel that we can change it is from the inside.
That's great.
Go ahead, Michelle. Kev, chime in anytime you want. We're going to close out soon because I know Malika gave me not to go.
I know, and I'm 10 minutes over.
The beautiful thing is about this. This is Real Talk Chronicles. I gotta plug this. I want to shout out all the people that are watching. What's up? What's up, Serpa? You know how you doing, JC? My favorite bartender in the world. What's up, Diane Hayes? Listen, this is Real Talk Chronicles. If you like it, share it. It's on YouTube. Real Talk Chronicles. This is. Let me tell you something. There's a lot of people. They got a lot of. Ain't nobody keeping it real like this. I got my esteemed panel. I love them all. I appreciate them all for being here. Listen. This is the only place where you're going to get some kind of NYPD conversation firsthand. I always tell people when I go out and I do a lot of mentoring things and stuff like that, I say, ask me all the questions you can. It's like the time when you'll be able to have a conversation with a law enforcement officer and not be in cuffs.
Can I just say something before I leave? And I want to apologize to everybody. Obviously, the next 4 Mondays, I'm going to be at 7 o'clock working on the census. You know, we're gonna be, you know, we need a drive because Bill, please drive that home. The minorities, African Americans, and Latinos, we are not filling out the census the way it is. It ends September 30th, and it is very important that we fill it out because that affects our communities very, very deeply. You know, I just want to say that.
Talk about the census too, Sammy, because one thing is I think people just feel like, yo, we're afraid. The man is coming to do something to us.
One last thing, and it's been a pleasure, Mashira, Dwayne, Kevin, is that, you know, I always tell people all the time, you know, you can close your eyes. You are never, ever, 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 no matter, you can put an all African-American police department, you can put an all Latino police department, you can put an all white. It is never going to be a perfect police department. You're never going to have one, not anywhere, because the human factor is there. All right. But what I tell people all the time is this, and I'm going to drive this home in my rally. Close your eyes and think about your community, especially if you're in a poor community, and think about that community without the police department and imagine what's going to be like. And I guarantee you, your answer is going to be like, oh, wait a minute. At the very least, I want some sort of enforcement. Guys, it's been a pleasure, Dwayne. Kevin, all right, brother.
Damn, pleasure.
All right, guys, be safe. Take care.
So listen, you know, Michelle, I want you to chime in on here because I know you've been quiet for a minute. But the bottom line is, listen, I think people of color, when we get in rank, and Dwayne, I would love for you to chime in on this. You know, so funny. You know, people of color and rank are held to such a higher standard. But, you know, and they feel like once you come down on your own, it's like, oh, well, he was so and so. But listen, if you really represent the blacks, you know, a black supervisor. I remember we all kept, you know, this George Stevens, right? They gave her the hell when she came into the 2-8. She had to administrate on these checks for how many sergeants? 8 sergeants, unheard of in the police department. Why? Because they put oil down and unscrewed the light bulb.
In the garage, right? I heard that story.
Took the light bulb out, put oil down so she could fall and hurt herself. You know what I'm saying? It gave her so much help. She had to administratively transfer 8 sergeants. Why? So, you know what's so funny? Kevin, am I wrong? Right? Exactly. Let me tell you something. She ain't hurt anybody. She ain't hurt anybody. And let me tell you something. She was cop friendly. All you had to do, if you backed her, she was good. She came under the tutelage of a ranch. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, but you know what's so funny? People are so quick to throw the dart at the person on top. I get it down. People inbox me, come on my post, say all kind of crazy things, get too comfortable, familiar with the verbs and adjectives. I don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? You ain't talking to me like that any other time. You getting this shit now. You know what I'm saying, Kev? Yeah, chime in, brother.
Wait. You said I could go.
Yeah, you did.
I'm sorry, I apologize. But everybody, so we can all chime it up.
It's my first time on, and I'm a Puerto Rican from the Bronx. I'm like busting out to say what I gotta say. but I'm sorry that Sammy had to go, but hopefully he'll watch the end of this later. Because he brought up Latinos, and it's such an interesting experience growing up my whole life as a child, young adult, and a good part of my adulthood as a Puerto Rican from the Bronx. Because the thing is, I didn't realize I was a Puerto Rican from the Bronx because New York, especially to me, the Bronx, almost more than any other borough, is the biggest melting pot of like almost the world that I know of. My world is small, but the thing is, when I moved to Philadelphia, it was such a culture shock because I was in a what do you call that thing? Survey, in-person survey where they pay you to talk about your experiences, where somebody there said Philadelphia is a melting pot. And I was like, really? Because I grew up with different races in my class in elementary school. We had different respects for different people. Like now the whole thing about kneeling and not kneeling and all this, the patriot, being a patriot. When I was in elementary school, we sang the regular national anthem, the Puerto Rican national anthem. And when they stood up to pledge allegiance to the flag, we had kids in our class who were Jehovah's Witness, who were African, Indian, and all these things that did not necessarily get up to do it, and they were allowed to sit. There was no disrespect toward a group for not conforming to what this country is supposed to be built on. It's supposed to be a democratic country, and it's supposed to be a Christian country.
Let me ask you a question, Bashira. I just want to ask you this. I want you to continue what you're saying, but I don't keep in the back of your mind. I want to ask you, how do you feel about you and Dwayne are both military individuals? I want to understand, how do you feel about the kneeling? So go ahead, continue.
I wanted to touch on that too. But the thing is, again, being Latino, I feel like people want to put you in a box. It was no accident that I wore my little Pocahontas braids and my little thing today. I did that intentionally for this meeting. I did. Because, yes, I'm Puerto Rican. That is where I am from, my most recent ancestors. But when you go back, we're a combination of, in Puerto Rico anyway, the Taino Indians, the African slaves that were brought through, the Spaniards who colonized us. So now I'm going to connect that to Kamala Harris. People talking about she's not African American, she's not Black. No, she's all of it. We're all basically all of it to some degree. Whether you're white, you have ancestors who were from different places. You were British, you were Pilgrims, you were Irish, you were German. But at the end of the day, the one thing we all are is human. We all love our families. We all want to take care of our families. We all want to be safe. We all want opportunities to provide well for ourselves and our families. So you started this thing talking about what's his name, the PBA and representing, a particular candidate. The thing is, and Kevin, you hit it on the head when you said and I'm gonna pinpoint it a little bit more than how you said it. There are very few people who are going to change their vote based on some bigger figurehead saying they believe in this person. And at the end of the day, we have to go with our conscience. So, I think the biggest thing is we need to compromise. We need to try to make the best decision, of course, for your family first, but don't completely forget everybody else. When Congress puts a bill in, they vote, and a lot of times they debate because they're trying to get in a little bit on each bill of both sides. And when they've been effective at their best, it's because they compromised.
Yeah.
Now everybody wants to, like, I want my way all the way, or I want my way all the way, and they're getting nowhere and no progress is being made.
I agree.
Now, to touch on real quick, it's very short and sweet about, kneeling and all that stuff. I risked my life and served in the military for people and I wrote this down because I knew this was going to come up. For people to have the right to kneel, for people to have the right to burn the flag, for people to have the right to question the government, whether it's in protest or whatever. Again, as long as there's no violence involved or criminal acts, that's not protesting. That's a secondary reaction to, trauma and the thing. But I risked my life for people to be able to do that. And it's unequivocal. It's their constitutional right. That is why immigrants came here, to have those freedoms that they couldn't have in other countries. They couldn't vote for who they wanted to. They couldn't say what they wanted to say. They had to keep their mouths shut. And this is supposed to be a different place. We can debate respectfully, intelligently, without beating each other up and being insulting, like with the Kamala Harris thing you started with, putting each other down. Let's just talk about the issues and talk about what, the politicians, the president, vice president. And the last thing with Kamala Harris, again, people are so up in a roar about I shouldn't have to vote for the lesser two evils. I'm sick of the Democratic Party. They don't do anything better for us than the Republicans. Listen, it's not about the lesser of two evils. It's about, and somebody else said it earlier too, one of you guys, nobody is perfect. If you put anybody under a microscope, politician, entertainer, regular Joe Schmo, blue collar worker, we've all made bad decisions, we've all done things, or it's all about our perspective. We think because she put a lot of Black men in jail, she's terrible. That's one piece of what she did. And I think Sammy or Dwayne said it earlier, that was her job, was to adjudicate the law, to enforce the law, not adjudicate. So she was doing her job. But since then, she's been in Congress and she's grilled some of these people who are defending the corruption that's going on in this administration. She's done a lot of good. So we can't just take, I don't like she's done to me, my people, Black men or whatever, and that's it. So because of that one thing, I'm not voting, or I'm not voting for them. Well, guess what? You're hurting yourself. Absolutely. Because you're focusing on one thing. So I think we need to just open our minds and think about the greater good, not the lesser of two evils, but the greater good. That's two different things. It really is. It's a fine line, but it's two different things. So
I appreciate that. Let me tell you something. That's awesome. Dwayne, I want to ask you how you feeling about being a former military individual. And then I'm gonna let Kev say whatever he has to say. But Kev, let's give Mushiro a little Real Talk Chronicles clap on what you was just saying. You definitely breaking it down.
I gave a 2 round of applause.
Yeah, I saw that, Kevin. Thank you.
All right, Bill. But first of all, let me point of clarity that I was never in the service. Unfortunately, that's a route that I didn't go because I was in the police department at the age of 20. So I do not instill the thunder of any vets that have been on the job, and let me thank them, matter of fact, for their service. However,
you weren't in the service? I
no.
thought you were a journeyman, man.
No.
So you done had me thinking you was really
It's because he's so militant. He's militant.
I was raised by a military family, but that's it. Just want to add a couple of things here. One, I don't want people to get comfortable thinking Biden and the Democrats have this election. That's one of the worst mistakes we can make. Okay, listening to the poll numbers, listening to the poll figures. Well, Biden has X amount of this and the other. He's leading all these states by 5-10 percentage points or polling points. So now people fall back. We got this. We got this. No, we don't have this. They're projecting those numbers based on you being included in them numbers. So understand that. So we have to get out there and do our part. Secondly, to all those people who talk about, I don't want to vote for the lesser two evils. If somebody's going to put their foot in my behind, let it be the person with the smaller foot. I don't want any foot in my behind, so therefore I ain't voting for anybody. No, what you have to understand is that if you don't vote, you get what you get. Okay? Secondly, the decisions that you don't make and somebody gets into office that puts somebody on that Supreme Court, that decision will haunt you the rest of your days, because that Supreme Court appointee will be there for life or until they decide that they want to give it up and they no longer want it. That's why we have to understand this election is more than just who governs us for 4 or maybe 8 years. It's for who makes decisions, interprets the Constitution, and does things that's going to impact the rest of our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Appreciate you. Go ahead, Kev. Come on in, brother. Finish this out, baby. Bring us home.
All right. So, Mashira, I can't tell you I appreciate you enough tonight, right? Like, there is some really wise things you said in there, and a lot of it has to do with we have to learn to respect each other and just listen and talk to each other. There was a time where Democrats and Republicans could speak to each other. Bill, do you remember a few months ago, I posted on your thing, I put a question towards you about, like, do you consider all Republicans, I think, racist or prejudiced or something along those lines? Right? Because look, I'm a Republican, right? And I engaged in a lot of the conversations that are going on in your post, and I'm listening to what people are saying. And my perception was that's how everybody there felt, that if you're a Republican, especially a white Republican, you're a white racist. And so, like, I was kind of like, maybe I should shut up about being a Republican. And then,
what's so funny?
But that's why I asked you first.
What's so funny is so beautiful about that is because that's why I said earlier in this forum, because I think there's a difference between a Republican and a Trump supporter. You understand what I'm saying? Because and that's my personal feeling. I don't know. Correct me if it's wrong. Because there isn't anything wrong with being a Republican, and I don't want to say this to anybody. You can be a Republican, you can be a Democrat, you can be a left, you can be a right, you can be a conservative, you can be an independent. The bottom line is just state the facts. You know what I'm saying? I have a problem when you sticking by just your party because it's just my party, and then that's this asinine shit. And you be like, well, I don't care. What about so? You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Kev. I'm sorry, brother.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, right? Look, if Kamala Harris changed parties and ran for the Republican Party, all the people who made fun of her would love her. But on the same note, if Mike Pence changed parties, Democrats would love him, right? Like, we base our decisions on factors that people are feeding us instead of just listen. I've said this 100 times, right? I've said this about cops and community. We all want really small, simple things. We want respect is number one, right? And for community and cops and safety. People just want to be heard. The overwhelming majority of this country is somewhere up the middle, a little left, a little right, not too far. We could take a little of each, but we've dug our feet in, and it's. I try to put a pinpoint on when it happened. Did it happen when Bush? I know liberals and people on the left who still think Bush lost in Florida, and still complain about that to this day and won't let it go. I think Clinton and Reagan were the last real, presidents who really sat with the other side and had dinner with them and had drinks with them. We don't do it, and our elected officials just, they dug their feet in the sand, and we're kind of following suit with them, and it's tough to watch.
Yeah. Kev, I think sometimes we get so caught right now. I've never seen so much diversity in people arguments and discussions. Not even discussions anymore; they become arguments. Because let me tell you something: people get caught up. If you speak up about a certain way, you got to be a liberal. If you speak up a certain way, you got to be a Trump supporter. And I think people need to understand. Sometimes take the blinders off and just let's talk about the facts. Listen. I have no problems telling anybody I'm not a Trump supporter, right? I say that. I've never seen somebody talk so much out of his rear and people think it's Nestle's Quake, a chocolate like Reese's peanut butter cup. I don't understand it. But let me tell you something. I ain't mad, about crime, like, a conservative is hard on crime and stuff like that. Let me tell you something. And this is why I always laugh. Kevin, you know this. Mashira, Dwayne, you know this. People hated Giuliani after he gave us zeros. Hated him. But those are the same people that rallied with him against Dinkins. Right? Hey, Kevin. Mm-hmm.
Well, two things. One, I still like Giuliani after he gave us zeros. I was a resident of the city, and he changed the city. So
yes, you did.
The zeros hurt me, but as a resident homeowner in the city, I liked them. There is one politician that unites us all. Only one. Our mayor. We all hate him.
Yes. I do
We're
not
all
know
united
anybody-
there.
I do not know anybody that that likes De Blasio. I think he's.
Yeah. It wasn't his intent, but he did unite us all.
Yes, I agree
we
with
all
you.
feel the same.
And you know what's so funny? Kevin, you'll be last. Mashira, I want you to give us some parting words. First, Dwayne, and then I'll let on Kevin and Malika chime in. First and foremost, this is Real Talk Chronicles. If you like it, share it. Got a shout out to, like I said, Darren Gall, Mark Rose. He's been chiming in. Mark, I got your mask too. You got to hook up. Inga, thank you for all your participation tonight. People, like I always say, go back and talk, comment, chime in on the thing. This is Real Talk Chronicles. Please, if you're out there listening, like it, share it. You know, there's so much stuff going on here, but this is Real Talk. So this is what it is. I appreciate you all. We have masks. We're selling masks. Listen. I don't care what you think about the mask today. It's part of the ensemble. Listen, when you get dressed, your shoes, your pants, and your mask all match. It is what it is. Listen, whether you feel that the mask work or the feel the mask don't work, I'm still living. So I'm just going to follow suit until Fauci or somebody else, or we have my doctor cousins back on, or any other doctors back on to talk about this, you know, to tell me different. Then maybe I'll do different. But right now, wear your mask. It seems like it's mandated. Just do it. It doesn't hurt nobody. Why you want to be such a hard head and stubborn? You know what I'm saying? Coughing and you might get punched in your mouth. So you know what I'm saying? What I wanted to say, I thank you all. I appreciate you. Dolly, I don't know what I am beyond hateful De Blasio. Yes, Dolly, I know you hate him too. Diane is watching. Listen, anybody, I'm gonna say it again. My staff, my panel, they're here. They want to be here. Kevin is rocking with me. Dwayne, his brother, Mashira, my sister, my martial arts sister too. Thank you for coming on. She asked to be here. She's here, and it happened right like that. So anybody that wants to be a part of Real Talk Chronicles, you can come on. Ain't nobody gonna bite you. It is what it is. It's Real Talk Chronicles. So with that being said, we got to talk about. Before we get out of it, I'm just gonna put this out there in the universe. Dwayne and Mashira.
Bill, you know somebody's gonna come shut you down.
Yeah. She's coming. She's coming. But this is the thing that we didn't address: mailboxes, military people not being able to write in valid votes. That's a whole thing. Mashira, hold that. We'll have you come back. You know, Dwayne, we'll talk about that. Kev, we'll talk about that. You're always with me. Listen, I'm trying to get somebody from the post office on. We have somebody from the census coming on. We are talking about politics. We're talking about voting. Law enforcement. Kev is always with me. We rock it. Oh, look who's here.
Yeah, Dwayne said it right.
Yeah, she's coming. She's coming. Before she shuts me down, right now, I want come on, stop. No, let me stop. Listen, what I want, Kara, I'm gonna start with you. Give the people, listeners out there, some words of wisdom, some positive energy to take with them before they go. Dwayne, you'll finish with that, and then Kev, you know, you do what you do, brother. Give them some positive stuff, and then Malika and I will close it out. So go ahead, Mashira, give us some love.
Take me off.
Got you.
There you go. All right. So first of all, thank you, Bill and Malika. I think what you're doing is absolutely awesome and amazing. I, in the past, have done a lot of community service work, not related necessarily to law enforcement, youth and families. I'm talking about my early 20s. I've had a passion for this. I want us to be community with the unity part being emphasized. And that's something that just seems to get more and more lost through the decades. And I think what you guys are doing is amazing. What I want to say is I am going to support you guys I want to keep posting it and have people come on, particularly, I think we really need to bring a lot of non-law enforcement people, civilians, community people, to hear us and understand who we are as people, how we feel as cops, our struggles, our, challenges. But with that in mind, I just want to say to you, Bill, and everybody actually, we got to be mindful of what we're saying when we're on here, in the sense of sometimes we use acronyms that they don't understand, ICO, this, that, the other thing. Sometimes we get into the politics within the department and we're not sharing how that affects the people we serve. So I just want to make that, something that we should be more cognizant of, because I want to invite a lot of non-law enforcement people here. I want to help you do what you're doing and what I love to do, and that's heal our community so they can cooperate with us. And though most of us are retired, our brothers and sisters on the job can be effective at their job and be safe because they have the support of the community. And this platform is a vehicle to do that. So I encourage everybody to invite non-law enforcement people, our friends and family who are not, so that we could hear more of their questions and address how our issues affect them and vice versa.
I agree with you. I think that I think Kev and I have been on here. People have said they wanted to come on and converse with us. One thing about doing this, everybody talks a good game until it's time to speak up. And the thing is, everybody talks a great game, and everybody wants to be a part of the band until when you get on TV. You know what I'm saying? Or when the song, because the bottom line is, Malika and I are doing this from the ground roots. And I can only respect the people like Kevin and yourself and Dwayne that are with me from the time. And anybody that knows me, I'm about loyalty. If you're with me from the day back up to Layla Productions, and anybody that's talking to me with Real Pro Chronicles from the beginning of this, I don't forget you. Shout out to Alex and Wayne, the 4-8, the people that stayed with me, that were with me in the beginning. They're not here now. I don't be watching. But the bottom line is, but I can only rock with the people that are rocking with me now. And Kev has been with me and he holds me down, and that's a beautiful thing. And Dwayne and Mashira and stuff like that. So I totally agree with you. But we ask people, hold on, I'm gonna let you say that, and then we're gonna go to Dwayne because Malika ain't playing with this time check. You know what I'm saying? I say this all the time. I ask, I invite. The reason why we have you guys is because you step up to the plate. So civilians, we talk acronyms. This is the only time you're going to get law enforcement insightful information. So go ahead, Mashira, I'll let you finish real quick, and then we go to Dwayne.
Yeah, very short, because I just want to say one of the things that really attracted me with the last couple of shows you guys have done was you had Sledge on, and you had, I forget the other brother from Indiana, the martial arts brother, with their program and what they were doing.
Kareem.
And that really spoke to my passion of a lot of the things I've done outside of law enforcement and community programs. So it made me realize that through my martial arts training, you might be familiar with my instructor, Professor Dwayne Thomas, created a group called Salute to Black Warriors. Mm-hmm. It was a tribute martial arts show that honored different Black professors and instructors to what they contributed to young people in urban cities, but he also honored other leaders in history, like we would do right now with Elijah Cummings and John Lewis, to remember and pay respect and homage to people who have done good works for the community, not just martial artists. With the salute, we have a Facebook page that I want to kind of revamp and start adding things like this show, adding things like Sledge, adding things like, so that we can also, like you, be a referral to positive programs, communities. So the Salute to Black Warriors Facebook page, look out for that, because I'm going to be posting this and everything good that comes out of this, or everywhere else, I'm going to be posting on that page so we could be a referral to help people.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Dwayne Montgomery, baby. Come on, baby. My big girl.
All right.
Yeah.
I just want to tell everybody, stay safe, stay vigilant. Look out for your neighbors. Look out for each other. And until we talk next time.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. My main man, Kevin. Kev, come on, brother. Close us out, man.
All right. So, me. Look, do something positive this week. That's my ask for everybody, right? I've talked about this before. If you're a cop, walk up to somebody on the street and just start talking to them. If you're a civilian, and you see a cop, walk up and talk to them. If the first try doesn't work, so what? Do it again. It doesn't mean the person didn't like you. Could be their bad day, or they could be they're a jerk. Doesn't matter. You know, be the bigger person. Let's move forward with this. My other thing, take a break. Pick one day a week. It could be Sunday. If that's your religious day, stay off social media and stay off the news. Take one day a week. If you sit and you're doing this every day and you're paying attention to your Twitter feed, Facebook feed, Instagram feed every day, you're burning yourself out. There is just too much to me negativity. I miss the days on Facebook when everybody just sent funny videos. I like my friends who just send funny videos.
Yeah.
And sometimes we all need those.
Yeah, we do.
Take a break. One day a week, shut it down. You'll appreciate it yourself more for it. All right. With that, have a good night.
My man Kevin Branzetti's in the building, baby. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for always being here with me, part of this segment, because Malika has other things to do. So I need my good co-host friend. And what's so funny? I appreciate you for giving insight beyond insight and giving a voice where people of color can hear from a person that's not just a white individual, but a person that has a level head. It's that people may not agree with you. There's a lot of people that see me, but they don't hear me. And there's a lot of people that hear me, but they don't see me. And that's where we got to get back to that. And that's all that I'm asking for everybody to go out there and vote. I'm also talking about, listen, we got Real Talk Chronicles, we got Mass, because I know Malika's going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it. And I appreciate you all for coming on. Sweetheart, what do you like to say before we leave?
What do I like to say?
What would you like to say?
Kevin and Dwayne know exactly what I like to say.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I know.
Good night.
I know. What's up, Rick?
You've said it all. You talked about the MASH. You talked about the YouTube channel. What else? What else is there? We have big shows. So next week we're going to have the politicians on. We're just waiting for confirmation.
Yeah.
We totally agree. We have got to do our show as soon as possible about voting and about the census. We have to get that information out there. So we're working on that. Kevin, I agree with you 1,000,000%. We need more funny videos and funny posts. I love to laugh. I don't know if anybody noticed that, but it feels good. It's a stress reliever. So yeah, take a break. All that back and forth and people trying to convince stuff. I don't get involved. Everybody has their own opinion. So be it. But enough of that.
Yeah, just
we
to
need
let
to
people
lighten the
know.
load.
Yeah, I mean, we have your mask. I have to plug my wife. She started her own business. Want to tell them about that real quick?
Yeah, Design Interactions. I launched it almost tomorrow is 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's my 2-week anniversary.
And she's had a plethora of clients. I appreciate everybody showing my wife
Thank
love.
you. I truly appreciate that.
This is
Gosh,
Real
it
Talk
may get to
Chronicles.
the point where I need to get somebody to.
We gotta get an assistant. We gotta get an
Exactly.
assistant. It's Real Talk Chronicles. Listen, everybody, we love you. We appreciate you. Like it, you share it. I say this all the time. Anybody that wants to be on Real Talk Chronicles, inbox myself, Kevin, anybody. Don't come over here talking a whole lot of nonsense. Just come out here. If you can articulate yourself and your point of view, you are on this show. Trust me. If I know you're a buffoon, we don't do buffoonery here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's good vibes only.
We do good conversation, good
right.
energy. Listen, we can agree to disagree.
Right.
But the bottom line is that's real talk. Not everybody has to agree.
Right.
Here we come. Listen, bye, everybody. John Boy. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Yeah.